Welcome to This Week in Anime History, where we talk about things that happened this week in anime history. A week ago, a couple of days ago, was the premiere of the original Super Dimension Fortress Macross in Japan. Back in 1982, which was a little while ago.
It only took 3 years for it to get across the Pacific.
Yeah, not bad, actually, all things considered. There are many stories around that coming over here.
Yes.
Which is, boy, that was a whole whole long experience. But yeah, Macross, obviously one of the big mecha franchises, period. Definitely one of the biggest mecha franchises of the 80s. And helped to cement the idea of mecha telling stories that are a little more adult focused, or like young adult focused.
Yeah.
Dealing with actual war and tragedy and death. And
war, romance, death, a lot of subject matter. Yeah. As we've gone forward and you've enlightened me with other things, I'm really surprised that Macross is the one that, in my mind, made the biggest splash in the landscape for all of us in the community. Mm-hmm. That Gundam didn't.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I would have thought Gundam as a big robot show that would have been like, oh yeah, as soon as that's 2 years in the can, bring it over here. And yet it was Macross that got that.
So the chief Gundam officer has talked about this in the past, and yes, it's an actual title at Sunrise. He's said it was actually very hard to sell Gundam in America because the hero is a pacifist.
But isn't Hikaru Ichijo is not passionate about going to war?
This is true.
He starts off in the very early parts of it being like, military guys.
Yes. But he is, I would argue Amuro is more directly pacifist. And also, Amuro pushes back more over the course of the series. So he runs away, partway through.
Yeah, Hikaru does not.
Hikaru does not. And Hikaru he gets pretty comfortable being a soldier by about halfway through. Like, he's a pilot. I completely agree. Like, they are similar. But I think it was just kind of a bridge too far for Amuro, which I think is fascinating. That was just enough. I have heard that Sunrise, and this is probably more true like in the late 80s, 90s, and so forth, that Sunrise commanded large prices for Gundam. So it could be that it was such a prestigious brand in Japan that they were like, we're not going to give it to you unless you pay up.
Right.
And in other countries, they're like, we have no idea what this is, so no.
Yeah, Harmony Gold didn't have that deep pockets.
Right. Well, and Harmony Gold has a very different, relationship and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, because it's just so interesting because thinking about all the Macross stuff I have. I have original Bandai stuff a friend of mine brought me from Japan, and I have a ton of Matchbox. Mm-hmm. They made a ton of Macross stuff for the Robotech series.
Yeah.
I have tons of it. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you're talking about Gunpla, you're talking about Gundam model kits, and there was a ready market for toys and models and all of that. That Macross, it might not have been the the most paying franchise, but for an anime in the mid '80s. Yeah. It had a crap ton of toys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I easily could have seen Gundam being like, oh, hell yeah, kids playing with Gundams, not just Valkyries and stuff. Like,
and what's crazy is they had to remake a bunch of that stuff for Robotech. Like, they didn't have the license to the physical toys. They had to take what they knew and then have new toys made just for Robotech, based on the Macross molds. So the amount of work there, much less being able to say, oh yeah, let's just resell those toys, new stickers.
Yeah. Well, the Bandai stuff I have all focuses on the Valkyries. Like the battle pods, the Masters series where the Masters show up, the Bionoid robot and the hover platform. All of those are Matchbox.
Okay.
So it's like you could see kind of the divide. A lot of the Zentradi, Meltrandi battlesuit things, not the pods, but the actual battlesuits with the cannons on the shoulder, those are all Matchbox.
Okay.
None of that's Bandai. So it's like, obviously you had this clear divide where, as you're saying, it's like, they had to come up with other toys that were not already on the Bandai production line. It's like, aha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Licensing's a B.
Yeah. But I mean, they did a fine job
Yeah.
with it. That, wow, wouldn't that have been awesome to have had Gundam precede that?
Yeah.
All the Gundam stuff available, and then Macross, all the Macross stuff. Those
Yep.
are, those are,
Absolutely.
boy.
I mean, we did get the did you ever see the Robotech dolls?
Like the G.I. Joe figure
Yeah,
size, or like
there was a whole line of Robotech dolls for girls. Of all the Robotech female characters, you know, as you know, dolls like targeted
Barbie
to Barbie style.
style.
Yes, marketed to girls. Yeah, that was the whole thing. Because
this is gonna sound weird. I would really love to have a Lin Min made in Chinese dress.
Oh, totally.
Boy.
Robotech had a very large female market in Japan, in America. Like a lot of girls tuned in to Robotech. So they're like, sure, we'll sell to them. You know.
Well, I mean, it covered so many bases. You had good war stuff. Very boyish, very war stuff. And then you had these great love story kind of things. These very life story kind of stuff that, at the time, again, within its milieu, this is targeting, marketing at that time in its place. Right. You got both sets of audience with all that was made up Macross. So there was a lot of selling points.
What's funny from the, just from the benefit of experience, at the time they're like, oh, boys don't like romance. Fast forward a couple of decades to all the romance visual novels out there. All the dating sims. It's like, who's buying those? Boys. Surprising.
Well, let's say you can't get a season that doesn't have romance.
Yeah.
In anime. And it's like, and it's not just one-sided in that market. It's like guys like watching a good, girlfriend. It might have been stupid as all heck, but it's you know what I mean? It's Aho Girl done with the lead character being a guy. It's so that, but it's this nice romance, and everybody was perfectly fine watching it. It was not gender specific at all.
Right.
Like,
and then a little over a decade later, speaking of, we have another major mecha, very different mecha, that premiered on October 4th, 1995, Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Evangelion.
Yes, Evangelion.
I still can't believe I thought that was the name for so many years.
If you want to really get the stink eye, go around calling something to like EVA fans, call it Evangelion, and never call it Evangelion, just Evangelion. Just use the soft G, and you'll see the twitch. You'll see the twitch. Sometimes they'll correct you, sometimes they won't, but just keep on calling it Evangelion, and you can drive them insane.
Have you done this, Brent?
Accidentally before, yes. But yeah, Evangelion's interesting. I was actually talking to somebody today about it because he just watched it for the first time.
The whole original series?
The whole original TV series, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Similar reactions to some of us. But it's fascinating just seeing how much that show was kind of a reaction to super robot tropes. Some of those worked in, and then having the whole sarin gas attack, requiring them to change the ending, and all the various things that happened with Evangelion that made it such a unique experience.
Yeah.
That you will never have anything before like that, because of just all the strange things, and Gainax, almost going out of business and throwing everything at the wall to stick. It's just such a different show.
Well, it's interesting to see that there's a lot of shows, I think, subsequently that pull thematic elements from
very much so
Evangelion, and
we're gonna call that from now on. That's
Evangelion. And I think you're absolutely right. It's just the way that sits in the landscape in its time. It just, you can't make anything like that again, because then everybody's just going to turn and be like, "Why'd you copy that?" Okay, I got you. Yeah. Once you do the amazing thing, it's hard to do it twice.
Yeah. Well, amazing and also flawed.
Yeah.
right? Where not only people think it's amazing, there are also people who are like, and I hate the ending, or I hate this character, or I hate that character, and it's like that's just what it ended up being, you know.
But I mean, if you want to talk about the deep flaws of the characters in the experience that they're having, the fact that the series itself has flaws is it works hand in hand. Where you'd be like, I hate that ending. Be like, yeah, and guess what? That show's kind of really hateful about a lot of stuff. So, welcome to how this is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maybe they made this purposely just to drive you nuts. Because I'm pretty sure it's to drive us all nuts. And
a lot of people
slow
nuts.
clap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then the whole thing about Ideon and all. It's just boy, many layers.
Space, Laname, Ideon.
You got to the end of Ideon, right?
I have not gotten to the end.
Okay, I was wondering.
That's one where it's like, I don't even know how far I've gotten. I think I've gotten to like the second or third time that they've combined the Ideon to get it working, and then the power grid is in the right stable format for them to do something, and then it falls out of alignment. Oh no, what do we do?
Jump forward. At least watch the last couple episodes. Because
jump that far forward. Okay.
Full disclosure: the rest of the show is run away.
Yeah.
For like 45 episodes. That is kind of the plot. Stuff happens, and there's stuff, but it's the same basic plot. But it is worth seeing the note that show ends on. It's just like, wow, they really did that. Okay, that's what they did. And then I don't know that I would ever recommend anyone watch the two films because they are so harrowing. The second one particularly, because it is kind of traumatizing, the final movie. But again, it is like it's Death and Rebirth and End of Evangelion. It is those two films basically a decade earlier. So it's interesting. You're absolutely right, Jay. Eva is a meme on its own.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has been meme fuel from the day the internet rose.
Yep. Absolutely.
There we go.
And speaking of sort of shonen romance.
Showman romance.
Romance.
Wow.
I'm sure that's a tag on fanfiction.net as well.
No joke.
A few years later, we got the premiere of Naruto. The original Naruto anime premiered back, guess what? 19 years ago. Back in Japan. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And started off that whole thing. We talked about how people were like, oh boy, Naruto's going to end. It's going to go away. No. No. Not how it works.
And, time dilation being what it is, it's like, 2002? That's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah. Oh, it's back in the mists of time now.
Yep, it very much is. I remember, and also to give you all a sense, Naruto was one of the signs of the apocalypse. Naruto was one of the indications that anime was going to die. The anime was doomed because all of these young people were getting into anime, and all these teenagers were showing up at anime conventions and running around in Naruto outfits, and they weren't true anime fans. This was just destroying the fandom. Yeah, that was a thing.
So what was the one that destroyed anime after Naruto? Isekais, I think that's still current. I think that's destroying anime. Isekais.
Just before this was Pokemon. So Pokemon was the one before Naruto. After Naruto, because Pokemon came out in like 99 or something like that. 98, 99, I think, in America.
Did One Piece come out?
Yeah, but One Piece never really destroyed fandom. Like people weren't worried about One Piece, having a negative impact. Moe.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I remember that discussion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
Moe is destroying anime.
Mm-hmm. And that was early 2000s.
Okay.
Timeline all worked out.
It's amazing the anime apocalypses that we've survived.
I know. Can you imagine?
how resilient is this industry?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then only 1 year later, we got the premiere of the original Full Metal Alchemist.
Wow.
Yeah, which hit hard in Japan and America. One of the sort of more unusual.
Thank goodness for Toonami or was it Toonami?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was the point at which, so up until this point, Macross comes over or comes out in Japan, and we have to wait 3 years for it to come out.
Yeah.
And then we get very different experiences. Now we get, FMA comes out in Japan, hit, comes out in America, hit. And we start feeling that sort of synchronicity between the different fandoms. Obviously not exactly the same, but it starts feeling like we're all otaku all over the world, which is rather lovely.
Back, once Crunchyroll went legit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back in the early days of their sort of high seas shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
But once they went legit, it's like you started seeing that, gosh, when would that have been? Like 2009, 2010 they went legit? Somewhere in there? Yeah. That you then started seeing the hook line coming up 1 hour after premiere.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow. 3 years to Macross, and then in that time period, it was a year or 2 years or 3 years to get it over here to an hour after broadcast.
Yeah.
You've got that episode. It's subtitled and available for you to watch.
Yeah.
So somebody has just watched at 2 a.m. in Japan. You're not going to be awake necessarily at whatever time that is an hour later in America. But you know what?
You are if you're a true fan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not a true fan. I'm a true sleeper.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like now you're talking about synchronicity. You could have a real-time conversation with somebody on the other side of the planet about something that just aired on their TV within an hour and that you can share in the glow of that moment in real time. Versus the Japanese girl I dated in high school. I was talking about Macross, and to her, that was like, why are you talking about something that's like, was 5 years ago?
That's my parents' anime.
Yeah, I mean, but that was the experience where it's like you ran into people who had seen this stuff in Japan, and it's just like, oh, this is the latest, coolest thing in America. And they're like, "Geez, people are so behind. What's wrong with you?"
Exactly.
They're like, sorry, the VHS train didn't get here until just recently.
I'm just looking this up, see if I can find. See here. Wow. So Full Metal Alchemist TV series came out October 2003. It was where was that? It debuted on Adult Swim in November of 2004. So just a year later, that came out over here.
Yeah, and it's like the time is just shrunk down so much.
Sure
what
has.
a glorious time to be alive. Despite the next coming isekai apocalypse.
Right. Exactly. Yes. That's the question. Isekai hasn't killed anime yet. What's gonna be the next thing? What's gonna doom anime next?
Will it loop back around?
Oh, it might be. Too many young kids.
Shonens and killing anime.
Sports anime. That's what's gonna kill.
Yeah,
anime.
sports anime.
Yeah.
Rhythm dance anime is killing the anime
killing
industry.
the anime industry. Yeah.
Free destroyed anime. Your anime just destroyed anime.
Oh boy. And by the way, you're exactly right. Crunchyroll started doing got its first deal with TV Tokyo in 2009. After starting in 2006 as a, to quote Wikipedia, for-profit video uploading and streaming site that specialized in hosting East Asian video content. AKA pirate site.
High seas adventurer.
Yes, exactly. Of dubious distinction. Yes. Oh man.
Which how that they were on the App Store, like at a time when iPhones, smartphone thing was like still in its infancy, and they somehow convinced Apple to get on the App Store.
Yep.
When they weren't doing anything legitimate, which is a testament to the fact that Apple was accepting anybody
Yeah.
at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was.
You're just a scam site to like steal people's credit cards? Sure, just join the App Store. We just need content on the App Store.
I thought I had sitting around here, and I do not. Maybe in the other room. The one VHS anime I still own. Must be in the other room. But yeah, Jay is saying, yeah, you're right, Jay. Evangelion. That's what's gonna destroy anime. That's what anime is doing. Evangelion. But yeah, absolutely, anime on VHS. That was how I first started watching anime.
Oh yeah, it was the only choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going out and grabbing those tapes. Dub or sub.
Galaxy Express $9.99, the original Gundam, first 2 episodes of Gundam. I have the horrible. Do you remember Love? When they edited it and butchered it.
Oh,
it's called
wow.
Clash of the Bionoids.
Okay.
It's terrible. And I bought it. I was heading to Hawaii to get my dive license, and I bought it in the airport LAX because it was at the airport bookstore VHS cassette. I was just like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why it is, but there's Clash of the Bionoids. I'm buying this. And it was Do You Remember Love entirely re-edited.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, they took out the Min-May and the Zero-G shower.
Oh, cool.
But they also edited other stuff out for time, where it was just like, what are you doing? Why did you do this?
Yeah. Well, Minna wasn't in the shower in the movie, was she?
When
that
they
was
first
a TV show.
No, I think they're the tuna head. When they're making tuna head soup, when they first end up zipped into space, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they have that same scene in the series, but she's not naked. It's in. Do you remember?
Oh, she is.
Is she? Oh,
yeah, she is.
Edited out
in original Macross. Yes, she was.
Yeah, the original, the Robotech version, she was not.
Yeah, you're correct. Yes.
But in Do You Remember Love, that she's floating in space. And
she is very much in the...
Yeah, you're like, oh boy, isn't she 15, 14 or something? Oh,
she is.
Yeah.
Yep.
My goodness.
Yep. We've gotten used to that now.
Yeah, and that was edited out entirely in Clash of the Bionoids. It was,
of course, yeah.
But yes, VHS, the only way we could share.
Absolutely. Yeah. Suncoast. A significant percentage of my anime collection is from Suncoast Video. Jay. Yes, absolutely, because they carried it. They were the only store that carried a significant percentage of anime. And so that's where I had to get. And there was one right down the street from where I worked, in a mall. So I would, on my lunch hour, about once a week, drive down there, walk around the mall, go to Suncoast, and of course, several of the staff there were anime fans.
Naturally.
So we would chat anime some, and that was where I got a lot of anime. Kino's Journey. I remember Lane. I got there. Battle Athlete's Victory. I can see them on the shelves, because you would get, if you were a member of their club, the Suncoast Movie Club, you get discounts the more stuff you bought. So if you bought $100 worth of DVDs, you would get $15 off your next $100 worth of DVDs, or VHS or whatever.
Right.
And so I would rack those up. There was one point where I got a $35 off coupon to give you an idea of how much anime I was buying.
Dang.
Yeah. Because
the storage locker out back was full.
I do own 1,000 anime discs. I do have a collection. So yeah. But again, that was the only way to get it. You just had to go there and get them disc by disc. And that was back, especially with disc. That was back when they were individuals. They had no box sets.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the VHS days. VHS was interesting too because with the VHS days, they did try to kind of standardize. So, if you were getting all of Ranma, they would all be the same color, and they all kind of you could put them on a shelf. They would all look similar. I remember the Lotus War VHS set, which I ended up selling. They all made a picture on the spines.
Oh, okay.
That was cool. So all of the different tapes all came together as one picture. That was fun.